Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Casey Kelderman.
And I'm Sam, and let's get screaming.
Let's get screaming as we are joined on this episode by our bosses on the Last Stop, the series, creators Dominic Wieneke and Zeke Richter.
Last Stop, the series, is a slice-of-life comedy produced in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, about the day-to-day lives of Last Stop employees at a used multimedia store and their interactions with customers and coworkers. Welcome to the show, Dom and Zeke.
Thanks.
Yo.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Glad to be
Yeah?
in the home stretch, getting everything done. So,
Oh, yeah, you said home stretch. I'm like, we're just starting. I thought you meant the new year, but no. You mean the show. Yeah.
the project. The project.
Right.
So the project we're talking about, this is going to be a strange one for Sam and I, because we actually worked on this project, and it's the first time we're ever going to do an interview working on, like, metatextually talking about a project we both worked on and already know probably all these answers to. But it's going to be a fun one because people might be asking, one, why are you guys talking about this? It's a comedy series. Why are you guys talking about this on a horror podcast? There's some horror elements in this, and we're going to talk about those a little bit, at least tease them. We'll give a tease to audience members on that. But Last Stop the series, Dom, Zeke, where did this come from? Where did the series come from? How did you two get together and say, hey, let's make a series about Last Stop CD Shop, a used multimedia store in Sioux Falls? How did that story happen?
Really, I don't know. It's just one day I used to work on the white walls down there, which was done in the basement. So I was spending a lot of time down there, and I always wanted to do a series. And I don't know. It was just one day I thought, Last Stop the series. What would that entail? So I kind of pitched the idea to the guys. They were all for it. It just started to steamroll. It's really hard to pinpoint when it started, but it just snowballed. We brought people in, pitched it to the guys. They were all for it. We started writing, brought people in. COVID shut us down. Basically had to start all over again. So then we, I don't know. I think it turned out better because I think COVID was enough of a time to rebuild it, to reshape it, to give it more of what we were going for. And then Zeke just kind of got pulled in along the way. And
I mean, I've been working with you for a long time on different, more horror-esque stuff. And as not a lot of people know, but you guys know, I am not a horror person. I watched Aliens when I was like 5 years old, and ever since then I was like, I can't even watch Goosebumps or anything like that. So when you said you've got a comedy series going on, I'm like, that's in my wheelhouse. I've done comedy shorts. I love comedy shows. So being able to take the story elements that you have and the comedy chops that I enjoy, it just seemed like a perfect mix.
And it's strange for me because comedy is not my wheelhouse. I'm a horror-based guy. So, but it's kind of breaking it down. It's the same thing. It's setup, punchline. Whereas horror is setup, jump scare. So just kind of translating that. And I always held off on comedy just because I think my sense of humor is a little bit different. It's maybe a little bit drier type of thing. I really enjoy characters that are off the wall. A good one would be Aubrey Plaza's character in Parks and Rec. She's so different than everybody else. Those are the types of characters I gravitate towards. So that was the comedy I was always scared to venture into, but I'm like, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. Working with so few actors, because doing horror-based projects, you only work with maybe a handful of actors at a time. There's so much talent in Sioux Falls that I wanted to embrace more of that. So like when I did the feature Death Rot, there's maybe 20 people in the cast. Whereas with the series, these 7 episodes, we've worked with over 60 people. So we're able to bring in that much talent in the Sioux Falls area to showcase them and to be able to work with them, because working on a a script, a short that takes a year, 2 years, you're limiting yourself on who you're working with. So I thought this was a way to basically get everybody I've ever wanted to work with and just bring them on in. So.
Well, and just given that we've come from two different worlds. I mean, you did your feature Death Rot, which is definitely horror. I did my feature Worst Kind of People, which is comedy, kind of comedy drama, dramedy. But there's like 26 days is all I shot that feature in, and it was just some friends and Brookings. And so I did bring a few of those people along to the Last Stop project. But like you say, yeah, there's an opportunity for lots of collaboration. And when you were talking about characters, that made me think like, yeah, when we put together the script, or you put together the script, you sent it over, I did like a pass on it and punched it up, and we had our ideas. But it wasn't until you see the actors deliver them, you're like, okay, as we get to second, third, fourth episode, the characters kind of developed around the strengths of the actors, because how are they going to deliver it? Oh, I wrote it this way, but they delivered it that way. I'm going to start writing that way for, every episode. And they morph into their own thing.
Yeah. So how much, this is something that I've always been curious about, and I don't know if I've ever asked actually, because I remember you guys doing a casting call for this project before 2020. Like, I remember seeing that on Facebook, intending on going to it. I think I ended up being out of town the weekend you guys were doing it.
And you somehow still finagled your way into
I'm
the
still in this. I don't know.
That's a story. Well, we can cover that too.
Yeah, the world works in mysterious ways, I guess. Yeah. Did the casting from those initial sessions, did that largely stay the same, or was there some turnover when you went back to it?
The first session, basically, we had a meeting. We were going to start shooting the next week, and then COVID shut the world down. So I mean, literally, we were ready to pull the trigger. So out of that casting session, most everybody came back, because I'd already chose the people that I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with Nate again. Worked with him in Black Eyed Girl. I wanted to work with Debbie, who we've worked with in random projects. Marisa was always on my radar, because when she moved to town, I saw she had some theater training from England and stuff. So I knew she had some talent. So we kind of handpicked the people we worked with, and then there's a few that kind of fell in by accident. And then, so for the most part, the ones that fell away were the ones that not a big loss, because I don't think they were determined to be a part of it. I think they were just showing up to be an actor, because it does take a lot of commitment. I mean, we shot 20, how many Sunday mornings?
Yeah,
that's a huge thing to ask people to say, I want you to get up at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, and we're going to do this until 11 o'clock, and then go about your day. And you're not going to get paid. You're not going to, you're doing this of your own free will. So it's a huge commitment to ask. Yeah. So I kind of knew the people that we had already handpicked were willing to do that, because they're professionals. And they know that Zeke and I have put out our projects before. There are a lot of filmmakers in town who don't finish their projects or don't release them, because for whatever reason. I've always released everything, good or bad.
We definitely have a track record when it comes to having it's prolific. You start out one way. You hope you get better along the way, and I think we both have in our respective genres. That said, something always comes out. And so people who worked on this, even though it took a while for post-production, and even from shooting the pilot to the rest of the episodes, nobody, at least in my mind, nobody was questioning whether or not it was going to get done. It's just a matter of time. And everybody, it was so fun all those mornings. Yes, it is. You get up at, you guys got to get there at 6 or 7. Like, I got to get up and drive an hour before that. But it's so much fun. And it felt like just a group of people hanging out. Sure, everybody knew when it was time to set up or block or to move to the next scene. Everybody knows to do their job. But when you have downtime, sure, you can hang out, you can have conversations, and just find room to play within your craft. It's people who love to act. It's people who love to be behind the camera, and it's just a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
So we teased them already. Let's kind of go through these core cast of kooky characters on the series, because I feel like I know that the series started with Nathan Holtz as the lead, Ben the store manager, just because Dom, you've worked with Zeke before, or with Nathan before, and so I think it starts there, correct? If I'm not mistaken, on where you started your
he was kind of the I would say not the linchpin, but it was a weird thing because he doesn't see himself as the lead. I kind of see it. There's like the 4 main core. Yeah, he's kind of the lead, but the rest have to basically have a very good supporting cast around that. Because if you don't, then the story's just about him and it gets kind of boring. You need some of those offshoot type of things, but you also need developed characters. So Nate's one we had worked with. He's a comedian here in Sioux Falls. I love his comedy. I think he's great. Debbie's one I had worked with through Zeke, actually, a couple of your projects. And she had come to, we were doing a Last Stop What You Got, which is where I met Matt Wolfman, or actually he goes by T-Bone at Last Stop. So, so I was working with him doing the Last Stop What You Got, and I had this crazy idea of I wanted to do, it was such a deep cut for Halloween. I wanted to do the Invisible Woman, where she comes in and does shopping. So kind of Debbie was all on board for that. I don't think people quite got it because that character is, I mean, going back to the 30s, the Invisible Woman, because we had during the episode, the Invisible Woman becomes visible by drinking. So that's what we had Debbie doing. So I don't think it played very well, but it was fun. So I wanted to work with her. Max I had worked with through the White Walls. He was really involved at the beginning, and then he got a job to where he was working for the news. So he was up at 3 a.m. and working till noon or whatever. So it kind of took him out of the loop. But so COVID actually kind of helped us, because by then he was burned out of reporting and came back. So Marisa, like I said, I hadn't worked with her, but I just knew from what I've seen of her stuff, I just knew she was going to fit. And then Jake, met him at SuperCon. I knew he did costumes. We worked with him on one of Zeke's projects there.
Yeah, so one of the commercials that we did with Nathan in there, where he was playing a titular character for a commercial for a local HVAC company, he played this dad, and he's fun to work with. And not only that, one of the biggest reasons why I cast him in that particular project is because he's very good with props. And so as a character, the character of Roger, Jake has brought a lot to the character. There's an episode where he's been in the vault for 2 weeks and he's really sweaty, gross, maybe ate there. He stands up and like his pants peel off of the seat that he's sitting on. But he did wonderful work with his shirt and like fake ketchup and fake stuff in his beard. So he was amazing. And then who was the last person? We forget. Oh, there's somebody that maybe is in this room with us.
Yeah, actually, we needed somebody in. Well, it's interesting because we write these episodes, or at least the first one I wrote this pervy character who comes in who's asking for porn. It's like, how do you approach somebody and say, could you want to play a pervert? Or like in the third episode,
you seem like you could be a pervert.
Right. In the third episode, we have the author who's an asshole, and it's like, how do you approach somebody and say, I want you to play this really horrible character? So
yeah.
With the pervy character, I had actually edited a short. It was supposed to be a feature. I don't know what it was that I had saw Sam in, and the project was not that good because it was just kind of rushed. But something about it told me that if we get Sam in the right project, he can show what he has, and he did. I think becoming that pervy character, whether or not that actually is like you or not, it worked.
Well, and it started that way, but we've developed his character too because I had written an extra character. I'm like, we need somebody else on the team, and then like, well, why don't we combine them? Why? because he makes that joke in episode 2, like, "Are you guys hiring?" Like, well, let's do that, and that's what we did in episode 3. And by episode 4, he's trying to say, look, I'm okay. I know I'm not like we haven't had the best relationship, but like let's figure this out. We can. So there's a lot of characters who try. And I like that about characters who, even if they fail, they have effort. A lot of times you see shows, and there are people who just are sarcastic and dismissive and don't care about life, and that's fine. There's room for those types of characters, but a lot of the characters within this group, or I like to call it the Crazy Eight, most of them care, even in their own ways. Like, Wolfman might be like the loner who just like, maybe doesn't like to do work. Maybe he's making forts in the back room with the shipping supplies. But if you really ask him, I'm sure there's some that he actually cares about, and it might just be something as simple as really obscure knowledge about, I don't know, some random movies in the 50s. Who knows?
Yeah. He's the grizzled vet a little bit, where
Yeah.
he doesn't like put off the caring vibe as much. But yeah, I think I know that he keeps saying he's not an actor, but I think Gribble is one of this show's secret weapons. I think he's just fantastic.
Well, and part of it is seeing people's strengths and weaknesses and kind of playing to those. And he's I don't expect him to ever carry a monologue,
Right.
unless it fits the story somehow. But I think a lot of, and that's the thing is, as the episodes went along, we got more and more comfortable. The characters came out, Debbie got to the point where she was saying, I don't think, Axel would say that. Perfect. What would you say? And then she would add in, it's like, love it. Let's do it. And so I think part of that too is when we're shooting is giving the actors the freedom to play a little bit. I've always been, my style is, this is the way it was written. Let's try it that way, because then that satisfies my need. But if you have a better idea, let's try that too. Because I don't want to move on unless the actors are happy. Nate's a big one. He knows if he's nailed it or not. So if he hasn't, he's like, can we do one more? And I'm like, absolutely, because that's usually the one he nails it on. So, and then Cecily was, I think, to round out the 8, she just happened, we needed an extra, and she showed up, kept showing up. So I'm like, let's work into the series, which is something I've always told aspiring actors. If you want to be part of it, put in the time and show up. Even if it's just being an extra, if it's being a PA, being on set, because you're going to end up in it whether you like it or not.
Especially on an indie project. I mean,
exactly.
all 4 of us have probably been on screen at some point in this series. Yeah.
So we all have speaking lines, and for better or worse in this. Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things that, even other projects I've worked on, like 13 Fanboy, I was there as an assistant director, and I ended up on screen. I think I counted like 3 or 4 times. I'm not an actor. I never wanted to be an actor, but because you're there and a body, you get thrown in. So that's kind of always my advice to actors. And Cecily was proven because of that, because she had no lines in the pilot, but we developed a character because we needed more characters after that.
And well, I think she really she brought it in the episode 2 when she sits down and it's Griff's manager for a day. And he's like, you're fired. And she's like, no. She had the perfect response to that. She had the right tone. And that's wonderful. And like you were saying with actors, you might have something written a certain way. I learned, you say that's kind of, you always do your MO. That's something I had to learn the hard way, because I'd have a vision like, okay, I've written it this way. It's going to be funny if this happens and that happens and this happens. And if you make this face, and if you try to manufacture comedy, it just doesn't work. And that's one of the reasons why we shoot with so many cameras, is because if you give your actors like, okay, here's the story, here's the beats that have to work for the story to work, but all the extra, the dressing, the icing on the cake, or however you want to say it, you can take that, you can make that your own. And if it comes out of your mouth the way you would say things, and you eventually develop your character to be not you, but an extension of you, and it comes across naturally, then that's all the better.
Right.
Yeah, I do feel like, especially in some of the like ensemble scenes, it is kind of here are the lines that need to be hit. The in between is kind of not total, like it's all scripted, but there's always a little bit of freedom to finagle some new stuff in there or some alternate stuff in there.
And as we went along, we got really good about filling in the background and having stuff happen in the background, which is another sort of thing of comedy I like, is when things happen in the background that have no relation to the plot, but it's enough to keep you entertained by what's going on, you know. And Sam, you were part of that with, like, you and Max would just start screwing around in the background, and it worked. I'm like, no, keep it in. Let's do that.
Yes,
let's do more of that. Yeah, right. You know,
and say that's like a very like Monty Python thing, especially like Monty Python, the Holy Grail. There's like stuff happening in the background that might be funnier than the actual scene, because like what's happening back there? Sam has a lot of those moments because it's Sam.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Sam. Yeah, just even like hopping in the background, like I think it takes you until like the third or fourth time you watch a scene, because Don and I will cut these scenes together and we'll work on the delivery, and then there'll be something like, wait, how did I not see that until I saw the the edit together. I'm thinking specifically of Marisa bringing down the arm off of a mannequin off the loft and just giving a high five to Griff's character, and I'm like, we did. That's not on the script, but if people see it, they're going to appreciate it.
And if you watch Marisa from the pilot, I think that's her as an actress knowing her characters, and like she's doing stuff that I didn't pick up until I was in the edit and watching it, and I was like there's in the pilot, Griff tells her not to touch the shelves because she's the trainee, and when he walks away, you see her, she just runs her hand across the shelves, and then just like in defiance of that, and then there's a subplot with her about the whole, she's obsessed with Batman and Poison Ivy. Well, anytime she had to be holding something, it was always Batman, Poison Ivy related, so I loved that she just brought that naturally, so thinking about their characters and just doing it.
I want to talk, we got to talk a little bit about the horror elements, because that's Marisa's character is going to go right into that. I don't want to say too much because we obviously want people to see the whole series first, but I think if they know the creators behind this, they have to expect that there's going to be some element of horror. And there's a whole Halloween episode, which I think, again, like each episode falls on different themes, whether it be books, Star Wars, Halloween, Christmas, talent shows, etc., etc. Where did you both decide where's the line we're going to draw between going horror and comedy and trying to find a balance?
When I wrote the pilot, there was never really an indication. I'm a huge fan of Twin Peaks, and one of the things I've always loved about that show is how, and David Lynch in general, is how it would go from comedy to drama to serious to horror. I mean, just all over the place, which tends to turn some people off with the tonal shifts. I like it. So when I was writing the pilot, we have what we call the vault downstairs. It's just this massive hallway of DVDs that is their overstock. And I'm the one that labeled it the vault. I didn't even know what their name is for it. I think it was just their overstock. But we kind of turned it almost into a character. It was just something about it, this long, creepy aisle that if we lit just right, I knew it would be creepy. So we just kind of ran with that. And it just, the story just kind of developed as we wrote it. And Marisa's character, just based off the pilot, kind of became the center point of that. And it is a subplot that runs through the first season that I don't want to reveal a whole lot because I'm hoping it catches people off guard, but a lot of it is revealed in the Halloween episode, which I kind of, when we shot it, I was thinking about like 50s horror, just how it is kind of not really mundane, but it's like normal things happen. It's not like totally supernatural. So it starts with a murder, and I wanted it to go from there, because that was my goal. It was always to have a Halloween episode, and I know Zeke's goal was always to do a Christmas episode. So we were able to sandwich them both in, and I'm hoping going further seasons down, we continue to have one of each in each season. So
yeah, and you're talking about tone and stuff like that, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't just watch Aliens and then never watch horror, because I loved Twin Peaks. I love that theme song. I loved everything about that show, and I didn't really even know who David Lynch was at the time because I was, a kid, and I'm so much younger than you. So I had no idea about the directing chops of David Lynch. But I think when it comes to, I think Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
has an element of comedy. It's obviously a comedy, but it also has some element of horror, just a little bit. That to me strikes the balance of the two. And the best thing about that one, not the second one, not the reboots, blah, blah, blah. The first one, every character is earnest. They believe the lines that they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you watch like a Judd Apatow movie, and those can be funny. Those have their place. They're riffing, and that riffing, but it feels like riffing. It doesn't feel like actual characters delivering what they truly feel. It just feels like, oh, this line would be funny. That line would be funny. Riff, 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 and then cut it all in post.
It feels like
Ghostbusters was a
improv
perfect,
at a bar night. Yeah.
yeah, but Ghostbusters was a perfect example of these guys are funny. They're hilarious. Their characters are funny, but they believe everything they're saying. And so I think taking that to this series, I don't think there's any scenes of characters where they're not earnest. I think they might have their own little quirks and like little winks to each other, but it's within the group and they all feel the way they feel about, um, you know, their movement and their development.
Yeah. I'm gonna toot a horn that's 1/8 my own and say, yeah, I think we nailed that.
Yeah, I think of the relationships that they were so much fun to write, like Marisa and Jake. It kind of became a Batman Robin type of thing where she kind of just started to go along with his shenanigans and like truly believe what he was doing. And I think Lincoln and Griffin became kind of a combo of opposing forces, but yet also friendly, neutral forces type of thing.
Total frenemies. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they're finding certain. Eventually, they'll find out that they, have a lot in common, and that maybe they just misunderstood each other. But that's a bromance that started far away and moved in.
Yeah, and then you got Axel and Wolfman, who Axel's very outspoken, Wolfman's very not outspoken. So those kind of dynamics, and like that's where Nate's character Ben is kind of the linchpin of everything. He just holds them all together, and I don't know, I love going into Last Stop. Going back to kind of what inspired it is how much stuff they carry, books, DVDs, CDs, music, everything. And how much stories we could pull out of all those and comment on things, like in the second season, we're looking at an AI episode. We're able to comment on things through these characters. Like the author episode is, do you meet your heroes or not type of thing. So it's fun to explore those kind of themes through this lens of these characters in the store. I mean, the store is a huge character by itself. If we didn't have the store, we wouldn't have a series.
Yeah, I don't know if we've said it yet, but we definitely need to thank everybody that is at Last Stop CD Shop for lending the store. Obviously, T-Bone allowed us to open up. He opened up the door for us every Sunday morning or whenever it was that we were shooting. There was a few that weren't Sunday mornings, but he came all the time. He was always there, even on the days when he wasn't in the scene. He might be in the background, but even when he didn't have lines, he was there, and not just here, do what you think. I'm going to go hang around over here. No, he was involved and excited. And so thanks to everybody at Last Stop for allowing us to have a set. People, a location, we have a set? That's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that they trusted us. I mean, they did read the first couple of scripts. They were a little hesitant on the porn element and stuff. I mean, not just, because... They also have an image. I mean, they're also an actual business. So it's walking that fine line of, I don't want to represent the store. I don't want to put them in a negative light. I don't want to make fun of their customers. So it's that balance of we're having fun with the customers. We're having fun with the employees. It's never, I don't feel that we're ever making fun of people. And for the store to just blindly let us do that is amazing. But once they saw what we were doing, and now that they've seen 2 of the episodes, they're like, do what you want. So
yeah, I mean, that is the 9th character of the show, is the store, and it's the one that people already know and are attached to, because like everyone in Sioux Falls knows of Last Stop. Everyone within a 60 to 90 mile radius knows what Last Stop Feedy Shop is. Like everyone that came to Sioux Falls growing up went to Last Stop. So like I think that's the through line, the in for everyone. And you get to see like behind the scenes on like places you are like the vault is one like I had never been back there before. You get to see behind the scenes there. You get to be behind the counter with the characters. So I think it's a cool thing for people who grew up and live in Sioux Falls and know Last Stop and know what that is, to have that experience through these characters and get to have a lot of fun of like, oh, I've worked in retail, or I've been to the store and I know those type of customers or those type of employees. And yeah, I think you guys absolutely nailed it. Like as someone who has looked at it now from the outside and watched all the finished product, I can safely say, like, as someone who grew up on Last Stop, like this, it's a great representation of that. And I think people are going to have a blast. And I think people are they're going to be clamoring for more, like after this premiere. And I know me and Sam talked about this the other night. We're like, the number one question you guys are going to get, and we're not going to say it here, is when's season 2?
Right.
And it's just, I mean, how long did this take from shooting that pilot? I mean, we shot that pilot in 2021,
22. And that seems the years kind of mixed together, but I think the initial pitching of this idea was in 2018. So it's been germinating a long time, and I'm hoping season 2 doesn't take as long. Obviously, I think now that Zeke and I got our rhythm down, we know what we're doing. We know going forward. It almost felt like the last day of shooting that the cast and crew didn't want to stop. It's almost like they're just like, let's come back next week and do more. And I'm like, but we got to stop so we can get these done and go on to the, But I really felt like everybody would have just continued on, just kept churning them out. So hopefully we can get to a point where we can get more people, more of a crew, and be able to churn some of that around. As an indie filmmaker, I do have a problem relinquishing control, but I feel like I've been a lot better about giving certain areas over and being like, okay, you take care of this, and whatever you come up with is great. So that's part of it. But ultimately it comes down to, we had zero budget for this. The store was donated to us. The cast and crew showed up free will. We never fed them. We should have. I mean,
you guys had some Ritz crackers and stuff like that, which I appreciated.
There were some granola bars and some water.
I get munchy on a Sunday morning, so
But every indie filmmaking book says, feed your crew, provide your crew. But on top of it, we're only working 4 to 5 hour days, which I think kept everybody at the top of their game. If we were to go 8, 9, 10 hours, everybody's dragging by that 6th hour. So I think by working 4 to 5 hours, everybody was raring to go, ready to go. You shoot your scenes, you're in and out. We always scheduled it to where, like, Debbie would have a long day today, or Nate would have a long day, or Nate would be in one scene, so tried to balance it to where we were maximizing everybody's time, because we knew everybody was there. No money. So hopefully season 2, we can change that.
Well, and I think we've learned a lot about, I think it was by the time we were doing the Christmas and the Halloween episode, which were the last 2 that we shot, I think you can tell, at least you and I can tell on screen, that production was running smoother. And it wasn't as if it wasn't running smooth on the pilot. It's just, you get into a groove, you understand how things go. And then we can look at it, we can do like what they call a post-mortem and say, what were the things that slowed post-production down? Or what were the things that slowed this from happening or that from happening? And how can we address it moving forward? And we've got a lot of ideas for, we don't want to lose the way, the magic happens with like, what was wonderful about the first season, but at the same time, how can we make it, more efficient while also being enjoyable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, you watch any TV series and you can always just tell, like, from the pilot to the rest of the first season, the quality is always different. From the
Mhm.
first season to the second season, the quality is always just a little bit different. And it's because you start finding those characters, you start finding the groove, the crew, like, and there is already kind of a shorthand among everybody that's on these shoots now, even some of the extras that we've brought back over the time, like, it's like they come in and they just know, and, like, we know what we're doing now, and that's kind of, I mean, that's a testament to you guys leading the charge and just, like, creating a set that just feels very open to ideas and to creativity, so, I mean.
Well, that's one of the probably the biggest challenges of this production was having a consistency of people, with Casey constantly showing up and just, even Sam, when you were just crew at the beginning, it
Mhm.
just people you could depend on to be there. So it didn't fall down to just the two of us, Zeke and I again. Just having a crew of saying, "Hey, can you go grab this for me? Go grab this for me." And as we got along, people, it's like they knew, like, "Oh, I need to go grab this. I need to go get this. We're going into this section. Let's bring everything over here." So it's, I guess, training the crew to get to where we want. Getting people on board probably was the hardest thing. At least for me, anyway. That's what I felt was the hardest thing, was getting people on board, explaining to them what we're doing, because we did have a few actors that I had wanted, but they're like, I don't get what you're doing, and it's like, okay, maybe another time.
Yeah.
So I think once people see it, they'll realize it'll be easier for season 2 to get people to help. So.
Well, and to go back to a conversation you were talking about earlier, there have been productions from whoever that don't always get done. So people have cold feet, or they're a little bit worried to put a certain amount of work into something when I don't know if I can trust that this product's going to be good. I don't know if this product's going to get finished. I don't know. Maybe it'll all be wonderfully looking, but the audio is going to be horrible. So until you can trust the people, and once you see it, which people will see it eventually at the premiere and beyond, I think they'll know this is what we could expect, if not better.
Yep.
So I have a two-part question as we're going to kind of wrap things up here. One is about the release, but before we talk about that, if people do want to get involved, because I think once we're at the point where it's ready, the world's ready to see the series.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 is going to be coming around the corner once season 1 is out there into the world. How can people get involved, whether it's helping on crew, helping with being an extra, because I feel like you can always use more of those. How can people just get involved with this?
Need to get in touch with us, and we need to get a better way of doing that. I know through the Facebook page is kind of right now. I know, Casey, you're helping with other Instagram and email setups and all that. So I think as we bring more people on, doling out some of those responsibilities, will be easier. I'm not much not a marketing person. I'm very much, I like the beginning of the process, the middle of the process, and then you get to, like, okay, it's done, now you take care of it. But I still want to say so in it. So as we do that, we definitely always need crew people and actors, extras. It's, if people think it's glamorous, it's not. It's a lot of sitting around. We try to run it as quickly and as efficiently as we can to eliminate that sitting around. But in Sioux Falls, a lot of people, I think the film industry and, well, TV, whatever, it is kind of a mystery, and they think it's glamorous because that's all you see. And it's like, no, as an extra, on films, you could be sitting there 10, 12 hours with nothing to do all day. We try not to do that. I mean, I think the most we had was a 6-hour day.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but yeah, we'll definitely, if people show up, we'll put them to work. We'll have an email set up, and right now it's through the Facebook, which is the best idea. So,
and please come be an extra, so I don't have to be in the background of every scene
again. Yeah.
If you show up, even if you just want to be camera, you will show up on screen somewhere.
Yeah.
As far as the release, you asked about that. The showing in Sioux Falls has sold out within a little over 24 hours, which, Casey, you called it. I didn't. I thought we were going to have to push. We didn't even get posters hung up. We didn't even get talked to
we
the
barely
press.
Posted the ticket link.
Yeah, I mean, it's through Facebook was the only thing that it got out, and then suddenly, yeah, within a little over 24 hours, we're sold out. So I think we're trying to set up other showings.
Yeah, and whether that's in Sioux Falls or it's in other towns, by the time this comes out and you're watching this, it's possible that there might be announcements on the page of where those showings are and what the details of those showings would be, because for the premiere we're just showing all 7 episodes, and then maybe a break in the middle for intermission. But some other showings might have more mixed mediums where we have a Q&A with cast and crew, or some behind the scenes footage, and maybe only show a couple episodes. So there's a lot of fun different things that we can do. So even if you go to the premiere, well, why would I go to this next showing? I've already seen it. Well, there's lots more to find out and to meet people and to get involved. If you want to get involved, you can go actually talk to the actors, talk to the people that are hitting record, talk to the people that are holding booms or just running to grab something.
Yeah, I know for a fact some of that behind the scenes footage is pretty damning evidence towards I don't know what.
We've seen a little bit of it, at least what the Pike brothers put together, and it's pretty good. I don't know exactly what they got of when they were away from us, but and beyond those showings, we've already talked about like a physical release, because I'm a physical collector, so there has to be at least a Blu-ray double disc set with all the extras. Trying to maybe look at some streamers type of thing. I don't want to release it on YouTube just because I think it's going to get lost amongst the sea of crap. So I'm there's a couple distribution companies that I want to look at and see if they can help us out. I've never had an animal like this, so with a film with Death Rod, I knew very much you do step A, step B, step C. With the TV series, I'm not quite sure what to do. So it's kind of a new area. So if you are a distributor and you're interested, hit us up.
And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that stuff, I think any physical copies would probably start out being available at Last Stop.
Yes.
It seems fitting to have that available there, at least exclusively for a little while before it gets streamed somewhere else or is available other places. Right. You got to go to Last Stop. It would just be wonderful if you haven't heard of it. Obviously, you've heard of it if you're watching this, but if you haven't heard of it, Last Stop CD Shop is pretty amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. My ultimate goal was to see it up on the big screen, which with the State Theater will satisfy that. So once that is done, then I will fully 100% move on to season 2, writing that and working on that. And then I don't know from there. So,
well, follow on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date with that. And Sam and I are pretty good about posting on our social media pages as well.
Yeah,
so
if you're
people
friends
can stay
with either
up-to-date.
one of us, you'll see the updates.
Yeah, you already know about it. So last question to leave you two off with, and I'm trying to think of a spin to put on it. We always leave our interviews off with a double feature question. So my question is, Dom, Zeke, if you guys worked at Last Stop and Sam and I walked up to you guys and said, hey, pick us out a double feature that describes you guys the most, what 2 movies are you picking?
Oh, oh wow.
Does it describe us individually or us together in our style, or what?
You individually. Say, I go up to Zeke and say, Zeke, what's a double feature that describes Zeke?
It's definitely Ghostbusters, one of them, and then you switch over to like The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Excellent choices.
I guess for me, it's the 2 movies that I guess I classify that basically made the person I am, and that's Gremlins is one, because without introduction to Gizmo, I would have never gatewayed into horror. And then the one that I think I've analyzed and picked apart the most is probably The Exorcist, just because I think it's almost a perfect film where everything, not the version you've never seen, because he added some things I don't like, but the version before that, I think is almost a perfect film. So that would be my double feature. But I go all over the place too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Gremlins. I mean, how do you not? That's an iconic film.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm a Gremlins 2. I'm a Gremlins 2 supremacist, but yes.
Yeah, we're a new batch podcast over here.
Yeah, we're a new batch
maybe I should
podcast,
say,
but we'll allow the first one.
maybe the tonal shifts of the Last Stop series is more like Gremlins, where it goes from cute to horrifying to, so maybe that's it.
Back to cute. Well, it's true, because we start cute, we have the Halloween episode, and then we're celebrating Christmas like an episode later?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Christmas episode's going to be heartwarming. Can't wait to see it on the big screen.
It is heartwarming. I can't wait for people to finally watch this. This has been literally the coolest thing that I've ever worked on. I think, Sam, you feel the same.
Well, you guys are associate producers, so that how I look at producer role is very much a executive producer sends all the money. The producers are the ones that do all the work. Associate producers are the ones that you couldn't have done it without them. So that's why I Matt and you guys are I had to make you associate producers, just because without your guys' dedication and showing up week after week, which gave me the confidence that people are interested in this. Because Zeke's followed me along on some crazy trips, and he just goes with it. Whereas you guys were like, there's something here. So I that's why I had to make you associate producers, is because you guys were there. So we couldn't have done it without you. So,
well, we appreciate the opportunity, honestly. Like we've had a blast on this show. Both of us were over the moon when we saw that it is sold out.
Yeah.
We're pumped. We're excited. We're stoked for people to see this, and we can't wait to help with season 2.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Well, Dom, Zeke, thank you guys again so much. We will see you guys at the premiere, which is on January 30th, correct? Right?
Yes, at 6:30 prompt, because it is a 3-hour show. So
get your tickets a week ago.
Yeah. And be on the lookout for more screenings coming up soon for Last Stop the series. Dom, Zeke, thank you guys again so much. Sam, give us that sign off.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.